Hey guys, it's PokeDude,
And I'm Misaki.
and welcome to another volume of 50 Things You Didn't Know About the Servants of Fate Grand Order, where we share obscure pieces of trivia about each servant in the game. Like last time, obscure is a relative term. If you're a veteran, you might know some of these, but I think the average player will be surprised by most of them. With that, let's get started. Number 51, Sakata Kintoki. His golden huge bear was referenced twice before its eventual on-screen debut in Lost Belt 5. It was mentioned in his interlude and used off-screen during Solomon.
Number 52, Vlad III Berserker. His seiyuu, Ryotaro Okiayu, voices Alucard in the Castlevania games, as well as Trevor Belmont in the Japanese dub of the Netflix animated series.
Number 53, Asterios. He grips his battle axes in a different orientation in his sprite than he does in the official art. Or at least he did until his recent animation update.
Number 54, Caligula. The story NPC version of him that appears in Olympus has unique dialogue to reflect his regained sanity.
女神よ、あなたの加護はここに。古くチクルス、ディアーナ。
I was debating about whether this fact was obscure enough to include in this video, but I figured, how many of you actually used Caligula during that chapter? Number 55, Darius III. He appears very briefly as a rider in the First Order anime special, being one of the 7 servants summoned for the Fuyuki Holy Grail War. This form has yet to appear in the game or in any other work, so its abilities are unknown.
Number 56, Kiyohime. Among 3 stars and lower, she's been grilled to level 120 by Japanese players more than any other servant.
Number 57, Eric Bloodaxe. Be honest, you forgot this guy even existed. Well, sometimes it feels like the devs did too. At the time of recording, he has never appeared in an event story, at least not as more than a cameo, but he has been a featured enemy in 2 challenge quests.
Number 58, Tamamo Cat. Type-Moon has an internal rule that no more than 1 member of the Tamamo 9 can debut per Fate entry, and Cat was a pick for FGO. If you're confused by this statement, Koyanskaya is actually not a member of the 9. She simply used Tamamo no Mae's Saint Graph as a vessel for incarnation.
Number 59, Jeanne d'Arc. Her design had not been created when the Fate Zero novels were written, but was finished in time for the anime adaptation. As a result, she was included in Gilles de Rais's flashback as he was defeated by Saber, making her first on-screen appearance.
Number 60, Orion/Artemis. Artemis's nature as a machine god has been hinted at since their introduction. Parts of her can be seen in the background of their card art. Additionally, Orion makes a passing reference to Artemis's true body during Okeanos.
Number 61, Elizabeth Bathory, Halloween. During the initial Japanese release of her event, there were timed bonus quests that were only available at specific hours each day, hinted at ahead of time by hidden numbers on the map. However, this led to servers crashing as many players tried to log on at the same time. After some emergency maintenance, these quests were changed to simply unlock at those times and remain available for the duration of the event. The English version set them up this way from the start to avoid this problem.
Number 62, Tamamo. She's actually a jackal. During Fate Extra, she explains that she was mistaken for a fox by the people of Japan and decided to just roll with it.
Number 63, David. Aside from Hamish, Avanim, and the Ark of the Covenant, he has a third noble phantasm called Sacrifice, Flames Upon the Altar, that has never been shown in the game. It involves burning incense and causing flames to descend from the heavens and incinerate all who oppose the will of God.
Number 64, Hector. There was nothing special about his spear in the Iliad. In fact, it didn't even have a name. Durindana's special properties instead come from legends of Charlemagne and his 12 paladins that were written centuries later.
Number 65, Francis Drake. At launch of the Japanese version, there were several errors with her card art. These were fixed about 3 weeks after her release.
Number 66, Anne Bonny and Mary Reed. It's never seen in-game, but the official design notes reveal that Mary has a skull and crossbones on the back of her coat.
I'm really surprised that we've never gotten that detail in-game. It looks nice.
I wish we could have seen it.
Number 67, Medea Lily. Her existence may have been planned as early as Fate Stay Night's development. During Tiger Dojo 22, Taiga tells Medea that one rejected story concept was for her to turn into a loli with hyperpower. Whether this was seriously considered or just a joke is unknown.
Number 68, Okita Soji. She was first summoned by Kohaku of Tsukihime in the comedy manga Koha Ace X, 2 years before FGO's launch in Japan.
Number 69, Oda Nobunaga. She was also introduced in Koha Ace X, but without a proper master. She had to wait until the follow-up manga Fate Koha Ace Go Imperial Capital Holy Grail Strange Story, where she was summoned by Altria. As a side note, this adventure was later reworked into the more serious story called Fate-type Redline, albeit with different masters.
Number 70, Skak. Her second noble phantasm, Gate of Sky, is used as her main one in Fate Extella Link. But before the game's release, it was used in FGO just once during the E Pluribus Unum chapter. She activated it in an attempt to send Cuchulainn Altar to the Land of Shadows.
Number 71, Daramud. The runes on his yellow spear roughly translate to, "A spear of birch, may Tyr hail glory upon you," while the red ones say, "A spear of birch, may Tyr's son vanquish all your hardships." Yeah, hey. Editing PokeDude here. I originally got this information from the game's wiki, and I also checked the Type Moon wiki that said the same thing. However, upon investigation, I realized that this is not entirely accurate. If you actually look at Daramud's red spear, the fourth character is not the symbol for sun, but the symbol for yew tree. As far as I can tell, there is no version of this spear that has that symbol, so I'm not sure where the wiki got this information from. I'm also not entirely sure what the actual message of the spear is supposed to mean in this case. But if anyone who edits the wikis is watching this and wants to make a correction, or possibly provide an explanation in the comments, be my guest. Anyway, back to our regularly scheduled programming.
Number 72, Fergus. His artist once drew him as a Super Saiyan, and even included a parody of Goku's famous "Are you talking about Krillin?" line, instead referring to Cuchulainn.
Number 73, Santa Altar. She sang two versions of Padoru Padoru in the shop during the first Christmas event. One with a serious tone and another with a sweet one.
走れそりよ風のように得意点をパドルパドル走れそりよ風のように得意点をパドルパドル
Number 74, Nursery Rhyme. According to a self-published book by Wadarko, her third ascension dress's design can change depending on which book she manifests as. This was demonstrated with The Little Mermaid.
Number 75, Jack the Ripper. We may have glossed over the name of her third skill, but she is able to perform a crude form of surgery. In Fate Apocrypha, after killing the master who summoned her, she was able to stitch up her new master's wounds and stop her from bleeding.
Number 76, Mordred. Her first on-screen appearance was in the 2006 Fate Stay Night anime during a flashback to the Battle of Kamlan. Her design had not been finalized at the time, so she ended up looking a lot more like Artoria than in later depictions.
Number 77, Nikola Tesla. His rivalry with Thomas Edison is so intense that even their Valentine's gifts are similar, each being a batch of cookies that Helena Blavatsky taught them how to bake.
Number 78, Artoria Pendragon, Lancer Altar. In Fate Grand Order Material Volume Number 3, her illustrator, Akira Ishida, insists that he did not make her chest bigger because of his personal preferences. Sure.
Number 79, Paracelsus. During April Fool's promotions, he is classified as a friend-type servant. This is a reference to his tendency to want to be friends with his master whenever he's summoned. This is more prominently seen in Fate Prototype, Fragments of Sky Silver, where he first debuted.
Number 80, Charles Babbage. He makes a cameo alongside Fran in the Lord Elmalloy II's Case Files anime. A poster for a fictional series featuring them appears in Kalis' room.
Number 81, Jekyll and Hyde. Thanks to their unique class change mechanic, Hyde is the only berserker to have a third append skill that grants an offensive advantage against a specific class rather than a defensive one. Interestingly, which class it is changes when they switch places.
Number 82, Fran. She has heterochromia, possessing one blue eye and one green eye. This is hard to see in FGO because her hair is usually covering at least one eye.
Number 83, Solomon, London. He's the only unplayable servant to receive full card art by Rio for April Fool's Day, although several others have had art drawn by them without a background.
Number 84, Arjuna. In Fate Extella Link, his noble phantasm is based on its original animation in Fate Grand Order, while its appearance in Fate Samurai Remnants was updated to reflect the improved visuals that were added to it in FGO later on. As a side note, in the Mahabharata, Arjuna is told by Shiva to only use the Pashupata against divine enemies, or it could destroy the world. Meanwhile, in FGO...
これが崩壊だパーシュパタ
Number 85, Karna. Each time he has played a prominent role in a Fate story, he is initially summoned with his armor, only to discard it, either narratively or through game mechanics.
Number 86, Mysterious Heroine X. She first debuted in 2013 in an April Fool's Day visual novel titled Back Alley Satsuki Chapter Heroine Sanctuary. She teamed up with Satsuki, Sion, Reesebife, and Ciel of Melty Blood to fight joke versions of various characters from across Type Moon.
Number 87, Finn McCool, and yes, that is the correct way to pronounce his name. In his interlude, he alludes to the origins of the hand enemies seen in Ember farming quests, but refuses to reveal their secrets at that time. The story behind them would not be revealed to the player until 4 years later with the release of Olympus.
Number 88, Brynhild. She is considered to be Altera's younger sister. That is because the Valkyries were created from the corpse of Zephyr, Altera's original body that arrived on Earth in 12,000 BC.
Number 89, Beowulf. He was inspired by Tyler Durden from Fight Club. Quoting his scenario writer, Yuichiro Higashide, "First rule, you do not talk about the Holy Grail War. Second rule, you do not talk about the Holy Grail War."
Number 90, Nero Bride. Borako has stated that the boobs and butt in her final Ascension art were her idea, and she specifically compared the boobs to the slimes from Dragon Quest. Does it make Nero Bride a slime girl?
In a way, I guess. Number 91, Ryogi Shiki, Saber, aka Void Shiki. According to Kinoko Nazu, she is among the strongest characters in all of Type Moon, second only to Arcoade, but this excludes servants and gag characters.
Number 92, Ryogi Shiki Assassin. Her event, The Garden of Order, was the first to use licensed music from an existing animated work, specifically the soundtrack for the Garden of Sinners movie series.
And boy, was it a pain for me to deal with that on YouTube. Number 93, Amakusa Shiro. The divergence point between the Fate Stay Night universe and the Fate Apocrypha universe is during the Third Holy Grail War, where the Icebergs choose to summon him instead of Angraminyu. It is said that if that war were ever made into a visual novel, this would be a choice that affects the ending.
Number 94, Astolfo. This one is hard to be 100% certain of, but after a thorough search, it appears that he's only ever been officially depicted wearing boys' clothing one time, in the craft essence still in the middle of the trip, and even then, he's barely visible. But the artist later released a more detailed shot of the featured servants' designs.
Number 95, Kid Gil. He owns an indoor water park called Waku Waku Zabun, or Exciting Splash. It's featured in Fate Hollow Taraxia as a frequent date spot, and is briefly referenced in his Valentine's Return gift scene.
Number 96, Edmond Dantes. He significantly altered the course of history in the world of Fate compared to the world of Tsukihime, being responsible for the death of Roa, the main antagonist of the original Tsukihime, although the Roa of Fate world is weaker since he never met Arcoade. He still achieved the ability to reincarnate through different means, and was only stopped because Dantes burned his soul using his black flames.
Number 97, Nightingale. She is the only servant in the game whose quick cards have a lower NP generation multiplier than her other cards, being set to 0.5% instead of 0.77%.
Number 98, Ku Alter. He was prominently featured in the stage play adaptation of the Solomon chapter, despite only playing a minor role in the game. By the way, if you're ever interested in a musical adaptation of Fate Grand Order, give this a look. It's available on Crunchyroll.
Number 99, Maeve. Her artist, Takayama Kisai, likes to keep her in her first Ascension outfit because it's the one they're most pleased with. They describe it as a snuggly outfit that will keep her warm even if Ku stands her up on their Christmas date.
Number 100, Helena Blavatsky. In More Learning with Manga episode 26, Gudako requested some very specific art of her from Da Vinci to be used for a body pillow. Helena's artist, Matsu Ryu, later drew it for real. Did they ever sell that, or was it just for fun?
I think it might have been included in an art book or something, but as far as I know, it was never made into an actual body pillow.
That would actually be good merch.
Yeah. Alright, and that does it for Volume 2. Thanks for watching, everyone. Join us next time for another batch of 50 servants. Do you know which servants event was responsible for the longest maintenance period in the history of the North American server? Tune in next time to find out. See y'all later.
See ya! Number 78, Artoria Pendragon Lancer Altar.
So, hold up a sec. So, you can say Artoria, that's fine, but it's pronounced Pendragon.
Oh,
Yeah.
Pendragon.
Okay, go on.
Number 78, Artoria Pendragon. Okay. Number 78, Artoria Pendragon. Can't even say her last name. Pendragon,
It's
Pendragon,
Pen and
Pendragon,
Dragon
blah, blah, blah.
together, you know?
Number 78, Artoria Pendragon. Pendragon. Oh my god, I can't even say that word. Number 78. Okay, I got this. Pendragon.
う